Thank you. Whether I order a pancake or a waffle, I'm not really sure, but I do know I'll smother it with Michigan maple syrup. I'm Julie Alexander, and welcome to Grown in Michigan.
And I sure could use a slide of that front porch swinging kind of life.
To learn about sap harvesting and syrup production here in Michigan, I visited with Kirk Heading of H&H Sugarbush. This farm incorporates every part of the syrup-making process, from tree tapping to sap boiling and syrup bottling.
So maple trees, many different maple trees, sugar maple, black maple, red maple, silver maple, and even the box elders in the maple family. In any one of those, you could actually tap, gather their sap, boil it down, and make maple syrup. The blacks and sugar maples tendency have a higher sugar content, so it takes less sap to produce the syrup, so less energy to do it.
Michigan maple syrup farmers produced about 150,000 gallons of maple syrup in 2021, which is about 3% of American maple syrup, ranking 8th nationwide. The average maple tree tap in Michigan yielded a little more than a quart of syrup.
So the jars that you see here, and you'll see some back here, and you'll see some along the windows and stuff, these are actually different boils for that season's of making maple syrup.
Okay.
So this year so far. So this year we've been boiling for a couple weeks now, and we are on our 5th boil. So we take a sample of every single boil that we do. We mark the date so we remember when we kind of started, when we did it. Lets us know, how the season went. Most seasons in Michigan will last 4 to 6 weeks long. Not that you're boiling every day or getting sap every day. It's just that time frame of when sap might be flowing that whole time.
The maple syrup may be sweet, but it also contains small quantities of important nutrients, including calcium, iron, and potassium.
Maple is weather dependent of when it starts and when it stops.
Okay.
We're always looking for that break of winter where it's going to stay above freezing during the daytime, but still go below freezing at night.
So what happens right now? We're in the middle of March. We had some really nice weather last week, and now it's cold. What does that do to the cycle?
So it just actually slows it back down again. Of course, maple sap being primarily water, it's going to freeze just like water does. And so the sap's not flowing, and it's just waiting for the next day that it will go above freezing. And
So basically it delays
Yep.
it into the spring.
Definitely.
Further into.
And then when we start getting some weather where it stays above freezing all the time, day and night, slowly the sap flow slows down every single day, and eventually it will stop.
Syrup isn't the only tasty treat that comes from maple trees. H&H Sugarbush also sells products like maple sugar candy and maple cream spread. And whether you pour it over buttery waffles or stir it into your morning oatmeal, Michigan's rich maple syrup will sweeten your meal and brighten your day. So I have thoroughly enjoyed today. I think, we talked about the simplicity of the Native Americans starting. Tapping trees to start with. And I think when we talked about today that most people don't realize they may not be using maple syrup on their pancakes and waffles and things of that nature.
Yeah.
How would someone know what they're actually getting?
Of course, reading the label. The nice thing when you actually turn it around and look at ingredients, all it says is pure maple syrup. Nothing added, nothing else to it. So that's, the biggest way of actually knowing that you're actually getting pure maple syrup. And most jugs in the state of Michigan will actually say pure maple syrup right on it.
You say it's simplistic in nature, and I got that, I'll agree, but I'll tell you what impressed me today is your understanding of science and math. As a teacher, as a former teacher, and with your wife being a teacher, we always we tell children these skills are important, but when I watched what you were doing today, your understanding of, again, science and math were critical in collecting this important product.
Yeah, it's some of those things that even I didn't realize until I started doing it. It's like I learned that in school of the average boiling point of water is 212 degrees, but it doesn't boil at that point every single day, and it changes with barometric pressure. So we check the boiling point of water every day, and that gets us really close of when the syrup is ready to be pulled off the evaporator. It could be as low as 208 degrees. It could be as high as 216 degrees. So, and then actually checking for how much sugar is in that syrup. Because if you don't cook it down long enough, you might actually have too much water still in it still, and it could spoil. So knowing that you have the right amount of sugar in it and the right amount of water still left in it, so it won't spoil, but it also won't turn into sugar, rock candy, using a hydrometer. Back in high school, learning those, using a hydrometer to tell how much solids are in that liquid is another tool that we use for that.
We were looking at the tubing. We were talking about the angles of the tubing and everything there. I mean, it makes your operation so much more efficient.
It is, and a lot of science going behind our tubing system. It's pretty easy to know that water wants to drain, but knowing how to use a specific sight glass to know that you have enough slope for that water to drain before it freezes and stuff like that. Putting up a tubing system is a big time energy management system for us on our farm.
Well, thank you so much for showing us around an H&H Sugar Bush here in Washtenaw County, Michigan.
Still smile and wave. It's Sunday morning's amazing grace and the stars and stripes. Life for the free.
Do you have a story to tell? If you or someone you know has an untold agricultural story here in Michigan, I want to hear about it. You can reach out to me at juliealexander@house.mi.gov.